All right, guys. Well, welcome to this edition of Essie and Scrappy. And, we got Scrappy 2.0 with Genevieve on. Genevieve is jumping on. It's nice to always have Lucas have his perspective and everything else. But I love the fact that you agreed to join me to talk about the girls and the girls' state tournament and everything else. Um, First, I simply want to say, congratulations on all the stuff up at Lehigh. For those of you that don't know, Genevieve is starting up at Lehigh, and I saw you guys had your first duel. Was it first duel like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so we've wrestled other duels and tournaments, but we had our first ever home duel hosted in Grace Hall, which is called like the Snake Pit here at Lehigh. And
Essentially,
we
yeah.
wrestled Columbia, and it was really exciting. So,
Very cool. It's so awesome. And you got the win? Am I right?
did yes.
That's awesome. That's cool. Anyway, so you ventured north and have been able to find this perfect balance because if you guys don't know, Genevieve's a really good student. I mean, a really good student. And I know she's like blushing and everything else, but I'm gonna go ahead and praise you because I mean the truth is that being a really good student opens lots of doors and lots of opportunities. And you had opportunities to go to really good schools that didn't wrestle. You had also opportunities to go to really good wrestling schools because of the caliber of a wrestler you are, that maybe not have been as quite an academic school that some of the others are. And you found this nice balance. How is the first, I don't know, semester and a few weeks been at Lehigh?
It's been great. My classes are a lot tougher than I think they would have been at some other schools, and that's really exciting to me because my number one priority throughout my entire or my entire career has just been my education because that's what's going to get me through the rest of my life. But I don't want to give up my 7 or 8 years of wrestling experience just to get there. So that was a really tough decision that I had to make. But Lehigh has been amazing. I love my teammates. My girls are great. We have a lot of fun, and yeah.
That's cool. And how awesome is it that what, a week and a half ago or a week ago they announced that the NCAA was sanctioning the sport?
Yes, very, very, very exciting. I'm hoping that we will get there soon. Because right now we're still technically club status, but we compete the same as all of the other Division Level 1 teams do, except right now we can't go to the national tournament. But I'm hoping we can get there in the next couple of years.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we are here to talk about the Georgia girls state tournament. And you know a little bit about the Georgia girls state tournament.
Yes.
If you look at the fans guide that I put together, and I'm not sure when this will drop and when that will drop, but you'll see Genevieve's name right there highlighted because you won 3 Georgia state titles. The same as I think Amani and Diana, and you guys are the only 3-timers from the state of Georgia. Tell me just a little bit about like how special of a weekend it is for those girls that have never been, to that to Macon before.
It's a really fun tournament. I am excited to see how they set it up this year because I think everything's a little different than it has been in the past. But I just love the Macon Arena. Like I think it's a really, really well set up state tournament, just the way everything like comes down on the mat.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just an electric environment, you know? And I think it's gonna be really fun for the girls who haven't been there, and it's gonna be even more exciting for the girls who have been. I think my advice to anybody who hasn't been there before would be not to take the spotlight too seriously because I've been to a lot of big tournaments before and sometimes that's really overwhelming. But I have to just tell myself, not everybody's looking at you. And so, yeah, that would
Even
be
though it's loud and there's lots of people and everything else,
right.
you're just wrestling your match.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. No doubt. Well, so for those of you that again don't know, there's a lot of players that come together to that work really hard to make the state tournament kind of go. The GHSA plays a role, the Atlanta Takedown Association plays a role. If you didn't know, last year, Rocky Kaufman and I got together and actually made the brackets for the champions and paid for the brackets. That was something that hadn't been done in many, many years, and we thought it was really important to do. This year, Rocky has actually gone out and talked to others individuals to bring on sponsors that are going to help kind of facilitate other things kind of behind the scenes. You guys see obviously the officials and the coaches and all these different things and everything else, but there's a lot that actually kind of goes into that. And one of the big sponsors for this year is Level Up, and I wanted to give them a shout out specifically when I had you on because you're Level Up. I mean, you were part of Level Up. So tell me, how great it was to be part of it as a Level Up athlete, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. I love Coach Donovan, love Coach Terry. Just growing up in that gym has truly been so amazing. I've been wrestling there since I want to say I was in sixth grade, so maybe 12. The community's amazing, technique's fantastic. I love traveling with the team. For girls specifically, there weren't a lot of girls there when I started, but just going back and seeing the little girls at the beginners practice, the girls at the intermediate, the advanced practices, it's really amazing to see because I didn't have that when I was younger. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're getting there now and that we have that at the club that I grew up at.
Well, one thing I want to share that actually piggybacks on this, and you didn't know this before because I had actually been doing a little bit of math behind the scenes, and that is 2 years ago, the number of girls who started the state championship series. That means they wrestled at like area, right? So the number of girls that wrestled at area was 600 and something, right? It was right in the 600s, and there were 198 teams. This year, there were 251 teams and more than 1,200 girls that wrestled at area.
Wow.
So in 2 years, we've almost doubled the number of girls who have started at the first step of the state championship.
That's very exciting.
That's
That's
pretty
very,
cool, isn't it? And it
yeah.
kind of it's testament to what you were saying about Level Up and the number of girls who are coming in and younger and they were competing and everything else. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just going to keep growing too.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see everywhere. I mean, even at our home duel, there are so many little girls. It's just really exciting to see.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So without much further ado, we are going to jump in. And Genevieve, we talked a little bit before we started recording, but are you gonna pick a winner or are you just gonna give me a favorite? What are you gonna do here?
I think I'll give the favorite unless I have a personal favorite. Is that okay? I don't know. Because I don't really agree with all of the rankings, but I do say I would probably agree with most of them.
Okay.
I
All
would say.
right. Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll just kind of feel our way. We're gonna
Okay.
break down the bracket and talk a little bit about it. Let's start at 100 pounds. And what was interesting right off the bat at 100 pounds was we had a returning two-time state champion in Ollie Wyland, but she took fourth in her section. That means that she gets a section champ to start things off.
Right.
And she gets Manuela Almeida. Is that
Hmm.
how I say it? Manuela? I think
Um, I'm not 100% positive. I'm
not
pretty sure.
100% positive. Okay.
Yeah.
So Almeida is a returning state placer. You have
Hmm.
Brianna Higgins, who's a state runner-up,
Right.
in the bracket. Jaylee Long from Adairsville, who is also a state placer. You got some really good matchups, but right off the bat, you have a matchup between a returning state champion and a section champion and a returning state placer. How awesome is it to start with like something like that?
That's a really, really good first match. Truly.
Yeah,
I mean, Manuela has really improved throughout the years. She's another one that I see quite often at Level Up. And she has just truly blossomed into an amazing wrestler. Her technique's really good. She's fast. So I'm excited to watch that one. I didn't even realize that that was going to be a first match lineup, and that's kind of
that's
wild.
crazy, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So what do you see? How do you see 100 playing out?
I think Brianna is a really, really good wrestler. I watched her a lot last year because she goes to Camden, right?
Hmm.
And I don't think they've ever had another female wrestler, so I definitely
They
kept my eye
have.
on her. Who was it?
So back in 2019, 2020, Alexa Downs won a state title for Camden.
Okay, she sounds really familiar.
Yeah,
But I definitely kept my eye on her last year when I was there. And I think she's a phenomenal wrestler as well. So I'm not quite sure who will win the Ali Manuela lineup, but I definitely see Brianna being pretty dominant all the way up into the finals.
nice, nice. All right, so I want you to give me somebody who we don't know anything about, maybe a little off the radar, that you think, might make a run for at least the podium.
I would say Cadence Grula from Lumpkin County. I got the opportunity to get to know her better at Fargo this year, and she is just a truly, truly committed wrestler, a very nice person. And she works really hard, and I think that we'll see her at least making the podium this year.
Is Cadence been, uh, and I mean, maybe this is pure speculation, but she wrestled pretty small in Fargo. So
Yeah.
is she a small 100 pounder?
I think so. She wrestled, I believe, 88 pounds.
88,
I
yeah.
think she had to lose two or three. So I'm pretty sure she walks around somewhere in between 90 and 100 pounds, maybe 93, 94.
Yeah, or
But
at least she used to. So
yeah, she's tiny.
so that can be a challenge, especially if you get a 100 pounder who's a big 100 pounder.
Right. But
Awesome. All right. So anything else to add before at 100 before we move on to the next one?
um no, I think we're good.
All right. All right. So let's jump to 105 pounds. And I'm going to give a quick overview with um, returning state placer Caitlin Coleman from McEachern is one of your section champs. You have a lot of returning state qualifiers in the group, but I think she's the only state placer that is actually currently in the bracket.
Mhm.
We have Caitlin Horn, Ariel McDaniels maybe, and Bentley Burke who are all section champs, but I don't think I've ever seen them at the state tournament before. So how do you see 105 kind of playing out? Who should we watch and who do you think is the favorite?
Sorry, I just lost my bracket, but I just got it pulled it back up.
No, you're good. You're good.
So the girl I know best in this bracket, what I would say would be Caitlin Coleman. I also met her at Duels in Fargo this year. She has been really dominant this season with a record of 32 and 1. She's a senior. I think she's committed to go to Indiana Tech, I want to say. I don't know if
I
you
don't
know.
know, but I like that. Okay, that's good
I
knowledge.
think
Good
that's where
information.
she's going. She's been a really dominant wrestler all year. I don't really know too many of the other girls. Jaleesa, I would
You
say.
know Jaleesa, yeah.
I would say Jaleesa would be another one to watch. Because she's also improved significantly throughout the past year. Another very hard worker, very nice girl. Worked really hard at Fargo and Duels, is very committed to her team. So I would say those would be my two girls to watch, but I do know of Caitlin Horn, and I don't know how to say her last name, Rau, all the way at the bottom
RA.
of the bracket.
Say what?
Her last name is Rau. I don't know how to spell or how to say
I
it.
don't know. Is that what you have on the bracket? Rao, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like I've seen her name before. Is she
From Pickens,
state last year?
Carly?
Yeah, did she qualify for state last
She did. She was a state qualifier last year
year?
as
Okay.
a freshman.
Okay. Yeah, I would be interested to see her too, especially as she's gotten older.
Okay. Yeah, I
Mhm.
would guess it's Rao. I'm not 100% sure though of how to say the name. If we slaughter any names, we apologize. It is what it is. Lucas used to actually use your last name to purposefully not get it right because he messed it up the first time and you guys gave him a hard time. So I think it's great. Let me ask a question real quick. On Bentley Burke, who is from Central Carroll, she's a freshman. She won sectionals. I don't know Bentley, but she is the only freshman in the bracket. Um, it's a stage, right? I mean, we've already talked about kind of keeping, focused on your own thing and everything else. But, there are a number, Ariana Remy Yee and Myalisha Robinson, Jaleesa, who you said, Carly Rao, they've all been here before. That's a big deal. So, what, you wrestled there as a freshman, right?
Yes, I did.
And what was your thoughts walking in as a freshman? Do you remember?
Yeah, my freshman year was different because it was COVID, and so there was no qualification for the state tournament. So my bracket, I think, had 42 girls in it.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, it was a pretty big bracket. But
You
um,
still did pretty good though.
yeah, I actually dislocated my collarbone that November, and I came back maybe a couple of weeks before the state tournament. Just kind of went straight in, thinking nothing really of it. I hadn't been on too many stages at that point, but it's just a different environment, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
are we talking about how I felt about it or
Yeah.
how,
How you felt as a freshman? I mean, because you get back and you've been there as a sophomore, you've been there as a junior, you kind of have that expectation, you kind of know what you want, that sort of thing. COVID did make it weird because, I don't know that there was many people in the stands or if there were like whatever, but um, was it just weird to walk out with 12 mats on the floor and that sort of thing?
yeah, I would say I think I kind of just froze that whole tournament. Like it wasn't just my finals match. I was just really nervous, and this is really weird, but whenever I get nervous, like my hands kind of go numb, I get really cold, and I remember that feeling of just be not fear. I wouldn't say fear. I think I was really excited to the point where my nervous system was just going completely crazy.
Yeah,
Um, so just like the excitement of the opportunity to be there, I
yeah.
think would be how I felt my freshman year. But, after you're there, it just kind of feels the same.
Well,
So,
you get used to it, right? I mean, you've had
yeah.
the experience before. And honestly, had you been to Fargo before you been to the state tournament?
No, because I'm like some people can go in there in eighth grade, but I was not eligible for that.
You weren't eligible. Yeah, yeah. I was curious because you're right. Some people can. All right, let's jump to 110. And 110 has two returning state placers who won sectionals, Michaela Williams from Houston County and Bella Mingledorf from North Oconee. You also have Brooke Madden in there as a returning state qualifier. You also have, again, two Ella Wells, who Ella's wrestled a lot of different places, and Alexander Iglesias from Central Gwinnett, who both won their section as well. So how do you see 110 kind of playing out, and what is there a match or a person that we should kind of keep an eye on?
Bellen Mingledorf would be the person I would keep an eye on. She is extremely dominant in her weight class. I would say also Brooke Madden, just because she's already a returner, like you said, like that level of experience, like just not being as nervous. I'd also say LOLs because she's traveled a lot with Team Georgia, which I think is really, really crucial and just like the development of your wrestling ability and like we were talking about, like that fear. She's been on a couple big stages. She understands what it's like to be there, and I don't think she would be afraid to step foot on the mat this year. Um, so yeah, those would be my big two or three. So
Nice, nice. Is there a match that you look at in the first round or in maybe a quarterfinal round? Like, I mean, the potential quarterfinal round of the two people you just mentioned were Mingledorf and Madden. I mean, potentially in the quarters.
yeah, I would be interested to see that match, how that one plays out, and then after that, Michaela Williams and
And
Bella.
whoever wins, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually the top side of the bracket looks pretty tough. Pretty
Yeah.
tough. All right, so let's move to 115 pounds. We have the return of, is it Lulu? Is that it?
Lula. That's what
Lula. All
that's
right. Sorry. I'm sorry, Delilah. Um, Delilah Betances, who went down to the state of Florida last year. I watched her down there compete. She won state title 2 years ago in the state of Georgia. But
Hmm.
this is another weight that actually features some really tough girls. Shania McDaniel, who I think lost to Delilah in the sectional finals. She's a returning state runner-up. You got Alana Garner. Again, some new names in the group, but also some names that you kind of are used to seeing. Is there it's nice to see Delilah back in the state of Georgia and competing in the state of Georgia, right?
Hmm.
All right. So how do you see 115 playing out?
I actually am very excited for the Alana Lula match if they both get there. I'm hoping they do. Um, I think that will be a really, really interesting matchup. Alana, I've known her for a while. I've known both of them for a while, but Alana comes to Level Up quite often, and her style matchup I think will be interesting with Lula's. Yeah,
Nice. So do you know Olivia Di Ariazzano, Orzano or something?
I do
North
not.
Paulding. So I think that Olivia, who comes in, she took third in the section. I think that was in Alana's section. I think she was a returning state placer from a couple of years ago. So again, it doesn't show up as a returning state placer from last year because I don't think she placed, but it's interesting that she has that background as well. So you think we're gonna see a Alana versus uh Betances final, or do you know Shania McDaniel? And she sits down there as well on the bottom side.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I don't know Shania very well, but that she's got a good record, 24-1, that she's an 11th grader, so she's got that level experience, but I'd be interested to see how it plays out. But I'm just noticing there are only two freshmen in this bracket, so a lot of older girls here.
Yeah, pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, never
Yeah,
really.
no, and actually, I think we've seen that on a few of these because I was mentioning above that what's her name from Lumpkin was the only freshman in the bracket. So Cadence, yeah. All right, so let's jump to 120 and 120 pounds. Um, I think there's a few girls in this group that you kind of know, you've interacted with before.
Mhm.
Before I go through my list of a few to watch, off the top of your head, who are you watching, and is there a particular match you're watching?
Emma Gunter is a really good friend of mine. So I'm really excited to see how she's gonna do. Last year, I think she would have qualified for the state tournament, but she injured her elbow at sectionals.
Hmm.
And so I'm really excited to see how she does. She's got a pretty good record. Janelle, I don't know if you have met or seen Janelle yet, but she goes to Kennesaw Mountain, which is where I went
Woohoo!
to high school. So rooting for her as well. She's actually from, I want to say, North Carolina.
Okay.
So she
And
was
so was she a
actually
freshman on your team last year?
no, she came in this year.
She
So
came in this year. So
yeah, I've only met her once.
okay,
But actually was one of my current teammates in high school, which I think is really, really a funny coincidence.
that is that is interesting.
Right? Um,
Yeah,
Janelle would be another one. Ivy Anderson, I know goes to Mill Creek.
that is correct.
That's pretty good. Committed to Columbia. Congratulations to her. I will be seeing her probably pretty often because we train with them all the time.
Well, you were just there yesterday, right?
I was just there yesterday. Yes. And then I feel like I've heard of Caitlin Fields before, but I don't know if I've met her personally.
Okay. She's
But
a state runner-up.
yeah,
And Evie Hill from Troop is a state placer. And then do you know Esperanza?
yes, I met Esperanza at Fargo before. Yes, I've met her as well.
Yeah, so all four of the section champs have a lot of experience. Uh, are you, and the thing that you noticed last in the last bracket is something you'll notice in this bracket. There are no freshmen in this bracket.
Wow. That's so crazy. I feel like there are so many freshmen last year, but that class is just, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I'm not sure. There's a really big freshman class, like Greta, Nora, Elle,
Right.
Artemis, that whole group.
They're juniors this year.
Oh, dang. But they killed it. So I think after that, we haven't really seen that level of freshmen since then, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're gonna give me a favorite, who's a favorite? Do you have one? It's
I
okay
don't know.
not to have one.
I don't know. This one's tough because I feel like a lot of these girls in this bracket are at a really, really similar skill level. And
Hmm.
so I feel like a lot of these matches truly could swing both ways. And even the first round matches, I feel like a lot of them could swing both ways. So I'm not going to name a favorite on this one because I honestly don't really know.
That's good enough for me. All right. Let's jump to 125 pounds. And you know, one of the names I know you know on this list, and that would
Yeah.
be Vera Spencer.
Yeah.
Vera has won two state titles, going for her third state title.
Yes.
Um, but this is again, this is another weight that has quite a few returning state placers and everything else. Because you know Alana from River Ridge, do you also know Alyssa from River Ridge?
I actually do not know
You
her.
do not. Okay. All right. So she's a returning state placer. Um, but yeah, so talk to me kind of what you see when you take a look at this bracket and what stands out to you and everything else.
I mean, obviously, Vera is a very, very dominant wrestler, and I don't expect her to change that for her third state title, honestly. But there are a few other girls that stand out to me, and that would be Bailey Moore and Sadie Davis. I know both of
Hmm?
them. Bailey Moore has gotten significantly better. Carrollton has had a great couple of runs in the past years. They did not win their state title this year, I know that, but still a phenomenal group, and they're really close-knit girls.
Hmm.
Do a really good job. And Sadie Davis, I don't know if she's placed at state before. Fairly certain.
Yes.
Yes. And she's traveled on that national level. So again, just like the experience on that big stage, I think is really important. There's only one freshman, Addison Steedman.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
which is again kind of crazy. I mean, I know that seems to be a recurring theme in our conversation, but the truth is, I feel like you said, there's just been a lot more freshmen in years past.
right.
And maybe it's some of those dominant freshmen are now just juniors and sophomores and things like that. Um, Also, there's just a lot more girls that are competing at that area level, and that's at sectionals and the level of competition. I mean, if you look at your section champ from Greenbrier, Abigail, and I'm gonna slaughter Abigail's last name, Seka Jippo. I don't know. She won the section over Sadie Davis, and a returning state placer. And Greenbrier is also another program that has had a lot of success, but I don't know that I remember seeing her name in the lineup in previous years. So,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
not
they just must be developing, really, really good girls all the way through their lineup.
right. And Greenbrier has depth too. So it's hard when was she a sophomore? Is she a sophomore?
She is a junior.
Yeah. I mean, she could have just been behind somebody else that just graduated this year, or they went up or down a weight class, you know? Everybody's different. I guess I never really had that experience because I was the only girl at my high school for a while, but I'm glad that there is this developing depth at schools that we're able to have national duels now, or not national, state duels now.
Mhm.
And even just the fact that this year there were four sections instead of two, I think that's a huge growth as well.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I don't know if you saw it. I don't know how, I mean, you're so busy doing your thing, but like when I'm capturing stuff and I see the Facebook posts, I see a Facebook post of, you talk about Brianna Higgins, but there were several Camden girls on that squad. It wasn't just Brianna. Or, you took a picture of River Ridge and there's like 10 girls in the picture that are all competing on the duels. I mean, that's pretty cool, I mean, it's, North Oconee, with Vera and Bella, there's now other girls on North Oconee's team that are actually coming up and everything else. So, all right, so let's jump to 130 pounds, maybe the best weight class in the state, at least in terms of returning state placers and everything else. There are just some really talented girls, some girls I know that you know pretty well in this group. I mean, honestly, we're headlined by North Forsyth's Artemis Eaton, who Artemis is just absolutely a stud. And I think she's the favorite, but I mean, this weight class has a lot of depth.
I would agree with you there, saying that Artemis would be the favorite. Really amazing season, amazing wrestler, even better human. I don't know if you know her personally, but
I
really
don't.
sweet girl, really, really sweet. I would also say Lillian Malloy, she goes to level up with me as well. She's a freshman. I'd say she is one of the big up and comer freshmen this year.
Nice.
Um, I'm fairly confident that she can make the podium and she will continue to make the podium throughout her high school career. But first match, Abby Plemons. I think that'll be a really good match. Abby's a good friend of mine as well, senior. Ella Hughes would also be a phenomenal, phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah.
And the last one I would mention would be Brooklyn Duck, which I don't know where she's been for a while, but um, we wrestled like way back when we were in like seventh grade, and I haven't really seen her since then, so I'm just excited to see her back.
Yeah,
So, my girl.
absolutely. Well, and I'm going to go ahead and throw out a couple other names in that: Addison Braswell from Tift County, Kelsey Johnson from Ola. I mean, Ola has some good tradition as well. Nadia Miller from Whitewater, all won their sections, all are returning state placers. It's this is this is a bracket. If you and I are sitting in the stands, and I don't know anything about, you know, girls wrestling in the state of Georgia, and you're going, you need to watch so and so, and you need to watch so and so. You already pointed out the Lillian Malloy, Abby Plemons first round match. Is there a quarterfinal match that like you go, man, that's a match. You know what? We need to make sure we're back at 1:30 to watch that match.
Hmm. I would say whoever wins Lillian and Abby versus whoever wins that first one. But Addison Bradswell, like you said, she's former state placer.
Mhm.
I would say that would be a really good quarterfinals match. I think they actually separated this bracket out pretty well. I don't know if that was like intentional or just kind of how it
I,
fell.
I think it was a formula, but I think it's just how it fell. But
Yeah, I think did
fortunately, yeah.
yeah, I think it did a really good job of separating it out to kind of hold those good matches until the semis or even until the finals. I think this is a pretty well dispersed bracket. But I would say also I'm interested to see on the top side who makes it to the semis and makes it into the finals because there are a lot of girls in this bracket with good national and state level experience.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put you on the spot and tell me, is there somebody, can you give me who's gonna meet Artemis in the finals?
Oh, it's
If
tough.
we if we if we were just taking a little bit of a bet, you would say
I would have to probably go with Ella.
Ella Hughes. Yeah. Ella's tough. And I watched Ella this past year. She made the finals at Knockout. Um, She, I mean, she's been here previously. She's super tough. Not to say anybody else, I mean, not to say somebody else isn't going to make it from the top side, but
Right.
I agree with you. Ella's tough, and Ella's actually now had 2 weeks in a row of having to wrestle Artemis, I think, in the finals. So
She's
you
got
know,
experience.
she
Yep.
knows she knows that path, right? All right, so 135 pounds. This is a weight that I'm super interested in your perspective.
Okay, so I have like two matches that I thought would be oh, what do you guys call it? Oh my gosh, wait, hold on. I wrote it down somewhere. Wait, give me 1 second. The match to watch. Okay, that's like not even I was gonna say this is one of my matches to watch. I would
Yeah.
say I think Nora and Millie Hughes is gonna be a really good match. Assuming they both get there, obviously, but that I think that will be a really good match.
Nice, nice. I love that. Now, the reason I was asking is that Nora, if she's going to get there, is going to have to beat a defending state champion in Moragana Lau from Glen Academy, who also has won the knockout twice. Nora took third last year, like lost to Elle Kaufman, I think in the semifinals by a point.
Super
She's
close match.
obviously been lots of different places. So I mean, if we're all gathered around, and again, a lot can happen to before you get to the semifinals.
Right.
But Nora versus Maragana Lau could be an unbelievably great semifinal match.
I completely agree with you. I don't really know a lot about how do you say her name?
I
Mar
think it's Maragana Lau.
Mar
Lau.
but I did watch her last year. That was her first state title.
Hmm. I think the
Um,
year before she took second.
yeah, I think she's a really solid wrestler, but I got my confidence in my girl Nora.
All
She's
right.
great. She's got really, really solid technique, extremely strong. So I think that'll be another good match to watch.
Well, and look at the list again that we talked about here. I mean, Lau is a junior, Nora's a junior, Millie's a senior, down about the bottom, Lily Harris is a senior. You know, we just have a lot of really experienced individuals coming into Macon who are ready to make a run. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's actually
That'll be
one of my favorite weights. I know 130 might be the deepest weight, but I think 135 might have a lot of fireworks.
Yeah, that one's good. And then I think my personal favorite is coming up pretty soon.
All right. So we're gonna move to 140. Is that it or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So at 140 pounds, we do not anoint state champions before we step on the mat. We know that anything can happen. We know that I've seen people winning by 13 points and get flipped to their back and the match is over. We know all of those things. All of that to say, it would be a surprise if somebody other than Greta Garbazovis wins at 140 pounds. Would you agree
I,
with that statement?
I 100% agree with that statement. Um, Greta's an extremely dominant wrestler, and she made it to the Fargo finals this year.
She did.
Extremely, really, really proud of her. So I think I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah. So we could talk days and days about Greta and how awesome she is or anything like that. Is there a few other names in the bracket that we need to kind of tip our caps to or kind of talk about because they're going to try to make their run?
This bracket, I truly did not know anybody in this bracket besides Greta. This was one of the only ones where I looked at it and I really did not, I didn't, I don't know.
All right. So I'm
I've
going to tell you, Valerie Medina from Lowndes is a returning state qualifier. She's one of the section champs.
Mhm.
And Anna L. Joseph is also a returning state qualifier. She qualified last year as a freshman. And usually I know the Mill Creek girls pretty well. I actually don't know her. So that's pretty interesting. I do know the name Kira Gilks from Banks County, who is a returning state qualifier as well. Another bracket that has a lot of juniors, a lot
Yeah.
of sophomores, and seniors. And, one of the things that this is a perfect time to talk about, and I didn't talk about it with Lucas. We've done two shows now. We haven't done all of the classifications yet.
Mhm.
But for a senior walking in, this is your last chance. I mean, if you haven't won a state title at this moment, the pressure can become, and you weren't in that situation, so I can't even ask you how you felt, but maybe you know of a senior who kind of was walking in that, they felt kind of this was my chance. This is my last chance.
Yeah. Um, I do know a couple of my friends that felt that same way, or they had this season taken away from them even. So, I just think I don't even know what I personally would have thought just because I mean, I had I won two before that, but I don't know. It's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of what weight class am I going to go and you trying to game plan. But sometimes you can get messed up by the bracket or, like you said, you can be winning by 13, 14 points and get put to your back. So it's just like a lot of pressure. But I feel like the pressure is mostly by yourself. I don't think a lot of people put pressure on you, say, "Oh, are you
Hmm.
going to win the state title this year? It's your last year." It's more of a personal mental thing of like, wow, like this is my last chance standing here. Um, Kind of hit me at Fargo after my last match. I was like, wow, like that was my last ever high school match, and that feeling is really heavy. And it's, do I wrestle next year? What am I gonna do with the rest of my life? And kind of all comes like crashing down on me at once, but yeah.
It's all good. It's important that it's important to you, right? It's important that you feel it. It's also important that you don't let it like
It,
overcome you. Like you don't, it doesn't own you. You have to own that situation. And I think that as a senior who has never won and really, really wants to win, got to be careful of how much pressure you put on yourself. I think my mindset as a former coach would be, you've done all the work, just go out and do your thing. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But that's okay. Just go do it. Go compete the level that you can compete at. At least
right.
that's what I would say.
There's like we do something here at Lehigh on my team called Quote of the Week. I don't remember the exact quote, but one that stuck out to me while we're talking about this is that it's something about how nervousness is the fear of failure. And I think that really applies here with it's not like you being excited for the opportunity. It's really, wow, am I gonna get this opportunity and am I gonna execute? But like you said, I think people should focus more on like the experience and I've already gotten here and I'm already on this big stage and kind of like wrapping up your high school career, being like, wow, I had a great time and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. A little hard to keep that perspective in moments, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move to 145 pounds. Is this your favorite bracket?
It's my favorite.
How did I know this was your favorite? Why is it your favorite?
I cannot wait for the Sam Patton Kaufman match that I'm fairly certain will happen. I'm very excited. That's my ultimate match to watch, in my opinion. That's what I will be watching on Flow in my class, whatever class I'm in. That's what I will be watching. So,
I think that actually happens on Saturday, so you'll be okay.
oh,
That
okay.
means you'll be at practice or in a
Oh,
tournament.
oh no, I'm wrestling on Saturday.
I'll
I'll still have it pulled up as
tell
long as
you what, I'll flip it on Instagram Live and you can just stream it or something.
wherever I am, if as long as I'm not wrestling, I will be watching this match. So.
Nice. All right. So for your average person who doesn't know, um, why do you think those two will make the final? And why is that your favorite final? Or why is that the match to watch?
So they are both returning state champions, and right?
Yep.
I was like, wow, I just wanted
Yep.
to I'm saying that right.
Elle's a two-time state champion.
Yes, I was a two-time state champion. They both wrestle on the national level, which I think just really, really is important on adding another level of depth to your wrestling. Nationals is really, really important. And they both absolutely killed it at national duels. And I'm not sure if Sam went to Fargo, but I know that Elle went to Fargo. But they were both 100% at national duels. And they both had a very, very good showing. And they wrestle kind of similarly, at least in my opinion. I don't know if that's like 100% true, but from what I remember
I
from
wonder
last.
what they would say, but that's okay.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a text message after this, be like, that's I don't know. That's what I remember. So I think this like the stylistic matchup, I think that will be really good. So that's why this is my favorite bracket.
Very
But
nice, very nice. Well, just to give everybody a heads up, also winning sectionals was Melanie Presnell of Osborne, and a shout out to Kyra Barnum from Seconder. If you don't know, Seconder started both their boys and their girls programs less than a handful of years ago. I mean, we're talking about 3 years ago or something like that. Now that they have a sectional champion in Barnum and that sort of thing, I think that's so good for new programs.
Yeah.
Um, we talked at the very beginning with 198 programs having girls wrestle at an area 2 years ago. Now we have 251. It's so cool to see. And there's a couple names you should keep an eye on. Audrey Zentz from Woodward Academy is a returning state placer. Savannah Child's a returning state qualifier from Cherokee. Caitlin Hill for North Hall is a returning state placer. And then I want to say, shout out to Leticia Tercero from Gilmer County because I think Tercero is one of like 3 or 4 sisters who all wrestle. And
Sisters or cousins, but
okay, yeah, they might be cousins. You're
wrestling.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And Janaja Banks from Jordan, she's also a returning state placer. So you got two super talented girls in Elle and Samantha Patton, and they're on opposite sides of the bracket. But both of them will need to not look forward to a
Right.
potential finals match. They need to take care of business for their next matchup. Was that ever a problem with you? Did you ever look towards the end or
Yes, but I have definitely gotten better with that, I think. Um, do they still do it how they did it last year with the one match a day kind of thing?
No, so this year there's the girls and 5A and 6A will be Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
So you'll get at least I think 2 matches on Friday and I think maybe 2 matches on Saturday. I think the
Okay.
semifinals might be Saturday morning. I could be wrong. I'd have to look at the schedule, but no, you won't get you'll get more than one match a day.
Okay, yeah. Ugh, I hated it last year so much. But I was gonna say, if it was like last year, I had one match a day and my matches were at like 7:30 at night. And so I couldn't really look forward to my finals match. Um, you have to take it one at a time like that. But I would say in tournaments like this, where you have two matches, three matches per session or per day, it's really important to just focus on that, even not even the first match, just the first point. And that's what one of my coaches
I
always
love
told
that.
me, just be score point. It's not about winning or losing in the moment. It's about just score that first point and work on it from there, you know? I try not to look at names no matter where I am. Just it honestly it makes me nervous and I know it makes a lot of people nervous. So I would just say just focus on scoring that first point and then just move on from there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get that first takedown, or if it's nothing in the first, and get that escape, or whatever the case is. Definitely. All right, so let's move to 155 pounds. This is actually one of my favorite weights.
Mhm.
You've got Ariel. I don't know how to say Ariel's last name.
You can, but I'm not sure.
Macon. Okay, from Creekview. Sorry, Ariel. She beat Madison Cooley, I think 1-0 in the
Yeah,
section.
yeah,
Madison's also a returning state placer. There's actually a number of different state placers in this group, but that match of a 1-0 match was super interesting because, whew, man, talk about tight, you know?
yeah. And they're both extremely dominant wrestlers and just to see 1-0, I would be less surprised to see something like 8-7 or a little bit more of a high scoring match from them. That's what I would have expected. I was expecting a really narrow match, but I was expecting a more high scoring match and just 1-0, that's intense. I'm looking forward to hopefully watching that again.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, so we've got Ramona Rivers from Richmond Hill, Bianca Barbarossa from West Forsyth, also won their sections, but probably one of the most interesting second round matches would be Effa Oju from Woodward Academy and Madison Cooley, assuming Madison gets there because Madison actually draws to Maya Benfield from Dodge County, who is also a state placer, a returning state placer. So both Tamaya and Madison in that third quarter of the bracket have a state placer in the first match. Assuming they win, they probably have a state placer in the second match. Then you get to the third match where they could have a returning state placer and Anaya McIver from Moravia Mountain or someone else. and then the finals. So, I mean, the path is tough.
It's dense. It's a
Yeah,
dense.
that's cool. And one of the things, again, if we were to point out, there are not a lot of there are not a lot of freshmen in this bracket, so it's pretty interesting to watch.
Also,
All
I
right,
would just say really quick, it's exciting to see the bigger weight classes getting more dense as well because for a while people kind of I mean this is like a soft spot for me because obviously I wrestle a bigger weight class, but
right.
a lot of times people write it off and they're like, well, you're in a bigger weight class, it's easier. But no, it's getting harder. There's more girls wrestling and it's not just the smaller weight classes that are getting harder. Like this is a good dense weight class in the next few they're dense weight classes too. So I think we need to stop writing off the big girls because it's getting tough too.
I agree with you completely. I mean, at one point in time, you could understand because the sport was still growing, and there were points at which, you might have at a national tournament, 40 girls or whatever the case is at a smaller weight class and many fewer at a larger weight class. But that's not the case. I mean, in 155, and we're going to see that at 170 and on up. There are not only a lot of girls at the weight, there are some really talented girls at these weights.
Right.
And it's going to be really, really interesting to kind of see how it plays out. One of those is somebody who's coming down to, was it your weight class last year? Was 170 your weight class last year? Yeah. So Tara Burse, who from Southeast Whitfield, won it at 190. Now she's down at 170, going to try to add another state title at 170 pounds. Is she the one to watch at 170?
I truly believe so. And I feel like I'm a little biased there because me and Tara are good buddies. We worked together um, at national duels this year, getting it done at the higher weight classes, getting a pin when we needed the pin. So I have a very big soft spot for her. But I've heard that Divine is
I
also.
think that's right. Yeah.
I've never seen her before, but she's a senior, so I don't really know how I haven't, but I watched a couple of her matches from last year. I think she also wrestled 190 last year. That's wrong.
I don't know if she wrestled 190. I know she was a state placer last year.
I know she wrestled Ava. I don't know what her last name is, but she's from Jefferson, and I thought she wrestled 190.
Atledge?
Yeah, but maybe she wrestled 170. I just didn't know, which would be terrible. But I
No, no, no. Like you said before, you actually don't want to look at all the names in your bracket, so that's totally understandable.
truly, I do not really look at the names in my bracket, especially the state tournament. I would just go when my name was called. So,
There you go. Hey, and if that's what you need to do for you, then that's what you need to do for you, definitely.
but I know
Um,
the weight class a little bit better just because that was the weight class I wrestled for so long.
yeah. So is there a few others to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I would say Kristen Briggs also has a lot of experience. She's got a tough first match, but she's got a lot of experience. She lives in my county, so I know her pretty well. Ashley Saucedo, she didn't start wrestling too long ago. She was a cheerleader for a long time at Woodstock, but she's very strong and she picks up wrestling extremely fast. So I'm excited to see her wrestle. I think she might have beaten Tara this year.
I don't
I
know.
I think she did.
Okay.
Not positive. Don't come for me if I'm wrong. But
Well, I
I,
mean, Tara has a few losses on her thing, so I mean, it's certainly possible.
obviously Tara. There's one more. Abby Anderson
Yeah,
from
I was
Jackson.
gonna ask you if you knew Abby Anderson.
Yeah, she's a solid wrestler. I would say this is a good 170 pound bracket. Like I think this is probably one of the better ones that I've seen myself.
Nice. All right. Ready to jump to 190?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. All right, so moving up to 190 pounds, and with Tara moving down, that means it's pretty open.
Right.
Honestly, there are four sectional champs: Aurora Edwards, Lillian Stokes, Beatrice Suomi, and Vera McClutchan, who I don't have on my data that they are returning state placers or anything like that, or returning state qualifiers. They actually beat some returning state placers and state qualifiers in their sectional finals. So that makes you think, hey, you know what? There's some new faces ready to make a run.
Yeah, whenever a girl state like whenever a state champ moves up or down, it's kind of interesting to see the shift. With so many girls graduating last year too, I was interested to see like who would move around where to like a more comfortable weight class or whatever. But I feel like this one it could really swing any way. I like I said, I know Ava Catledge pretty well from Jefferson. Strong wrestler. Lillian Stokes. I know Victoria Ramos as well, but you're right. I don't know the sectional champs. I don't know them at all.
Do
But
you
it's
not
really
know? Do
good.
you know Lily? You don't know Lillian Stokes? Her name sounds really familiar to me. And
It does. I think she was the one I was watching at 190 today. She goes to Woodland.
Woodward Academy.
Goes to Woodward. She was the one I was watching. She wrestled Ava Catledge last year at state. That's what
Okay.
I was.
Okay. She just
Um,
seems her name seems very, very familiar to me, and I
yeah.
couldn't say I've seen her like actual match, but I'm sitting there going, I know these names, like I know that name.
Yeah,
So
there are a couple names in here that sound familiar, but I've never Um, like I don't know if I've seen them wrestle before or if they've just been at state and I've heard the name over like the loudspeaker or whatever. But yeah,
sure.
I feel like this bracket could really go any way. But I think the top half, from what I personally know, I would say that's pretty dense top half. I don't really know many of the girls on the bottom.
Okay. All right. So let's jump to 235 pounds. And you know, last year, trying to think, Elia Evans, was that her name?
I'm not sure who won last year, truly. I don't
So
remember.
she beat Taylor Cheezer from
Yes,
Gilmer in the finals.
it
And
was yes, Evans. Isla Evans,
yeah,
SOD the school. I don't know what that is abbreviated for.
what was it?
SODE? I don't know what
So
that.
I think it was Southwest DeKalb.
Okay.
So the reason I bring that up is that we do have some returning state placers at the weight, but it's another weight where a lot can happen. There's things that like, I mean, it can if someone makes something happen in this situation and get somebody on their back, they can be down and really make something happen. And you're just watching kind of this. There's not, from me looking at it, there doesn't seem like there's this dominant individual who's just going to just run over everybody. Seems
Right.
like a weight class that seems like it could be pretty wide open.
Right. I would say I think Sandra, I'm not sure how to say her last name from Osborne.
D'Souza, yeah.
I think she stands a pretty good chance. She made it to the semis last year, got pinned by Taylor in 25 seconds, but I remember watching that. She truly like she just got thrown, got stuck. Um,
And
but
came back and got third.
Yeah, came back all the way, got third. She pinned pretty much everybody. Now that like I have the bracket pulled up. She's a pretty dominant wrestler, I would say. Also another girl that I have some personal experience would be Rosalie. She was our heavyweight on the national team this year. Really committed wrestler. I think she can make the podium this year.
Nice, nice.
Two that I know best. So
Do you know Ruby Barton? It seems like she was also around the same weight as you at one point in time.
be where
From Rome, Georgia.
I'm not sure. That's kind of far from where I live though, so I don't really know.
Maybe not. Okay. All right. All right. Awesome. So, breaking this down and I'm going to ask you one last question before we kind of wrap everything up. Well, one more question after this question.
Okay, okay.
I can count, don't worry. All right. So if we're going to recap the thing that you and I are sitting in the stands, your average person was sitting next to us, you're saying you need to watch this weight, and this weight. What are those three weights?
I think 135 because Nora's at 135, yeah?
Yeah,
145.
145.
Mhm.
And would you agree with me that it's 130 with Artemis and them, or would you? Okay.
think I do, just because I truly think Artemis is a very, very dominant wrestler, and I think I see her winning her third state title. But there are a couple weights that, in my opinion, even though they don't really have a dominant wrestler necessarily, I think it would be better to watch just because you'll have closer, more high scoring matches.
Hmm.
So I would say either 105 or 170 would be my third.
Nice. I love that. Okay, awesome. And my last question for you is the team race. And you, because you were just a single on, your team in years past, you not didn't really necessarily pay as close attention, I would think, to that part of it. But you mentioned earlier in our conversation that Carrollton has had a heck of a run over the last several years. They should be back in the hunt for a state title. You've got Greenbrier, who won it this year. And you have Lumpkin County, who won the other division this year for duels. So, as you just off the top of your head, and I can pull up kind of the numbers, but let's not even worry about the numbers. Off the top of your head, is there a team that you're looking at going, that's a team that I think I'm going to watch?
So it's tough because I think teams really line up differently at duels compared to at the traditional state tournament.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I would really go with Lumpkin County in full confidence because the twins, obviously, and then they have a lot of girls wrestling at this tournament. And I think that Greenbrier and Carrollton are both very, very good dual teams, but I don't see them as much at the traditional state tournament. I'm they're astounding. They kill everybody in duels, but I don't really see them as much at state. And I think Lumpkin County can be dominant in both.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, certainly getting those point scores from, if you can get several into the finals or put them on the podium, you're gonna be in a pretty good position to make a run. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, you're not gonna get to tune into Flow next Saturday. Where are we competing?
I'm wrestling at, oh my God, it just totally slipped my mind.
You
Oh,
forgot?
Gannon University. So I get my rematch from the my loss at Fargo on
Oh,
Sunday.
nice.
Yep,
Looking forward to it.
very much so. I'm ready. I'm feeling really good. I'm in shape. My technique is better. My conditioning is better. I'm ready. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, Genevieve, I appreciate you taking a moment, jumping on with me and talking about the girls. I think it's so awesome. Just the numbers that are growing, the quality all through all all the weight classes and everything else. And yeah, you offer a great perspective on what we can expect to see.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I love to see this work growing, and I will always come back when anyone needs me. So,
Awesome. Well, you take care and best of luck next week in getting your revenge match.
thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye. See you.